From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 194. Today's show is brought to you by ButcherBox and PDF Pen 10 from Smile. My name is Myke Hurley, and I am joined by Federico Ticci. Ciao, Federico.
Ciao, Myke. How are you?
I'm good. It's just the two of us today. Stephen is out on assignment today. Some kind of secret project, is my understanding.
He's always up to something, that guy.
Yeah, you can't trust him. I think he's jacket shopping for our live show.
He's been buying clothes lately, like fancy clothes.
He's been buying lots of clothes.
Yeah, he is. He's a changed man. Maybe he's having some kind of midlife crisis. Maybe he's gonna buy a Ferrari next.
3/4 life crisis. He's old, remember? On last week's show, we introduced the life-changing for all of us Federico Ticci leak scale. The Ticci leak scale was introduced, and the wonderful Kate, who is at RHL__ on Twitter, she drew it up for us in beautiful. It's wonderful. So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in the show notes so people can go look at Kate's interpretation of the Ticci scale. What do you think? Where does Kate's interpretation of the Ticci scale rank on the Ticci scale?
This is obviously a best I love you level. It's perfect. It's the colors are perfect. The little icons that indicate the extremes. So there's nightmare. It's a bat. It could have been a spider too, because I don't like spiders, but a bat is also fine. And there's a blue heart on the right side where the best comma I love you is placed. This is the perfect representation of my Ticci leak scale, or TLS, as friends call it. Yeah.
Until I saw this, I had forgotten that inferior minus and good plus existed. I had forgotten about those, but yes, I like those very much on the scale. Of course, yeah. So we are happy to announce that the Ticci leak scale system, the TLS system, has been franchised out to other parts of our empire. And you may remember last year we did the Happyometer, which we're going to be doing again for WWDC, where on next week's episode, we're going to talk about some stuff that if Apple did at WWDC would make us very happy. They're not predictions, because typically they're things that we expect they won't do, but we're just going to see anyway, because imagine if we could get all of our hopes and dreams from the perfect WWDC. That is what the Happyometer is going to be about, and we are very excited to announce that the Happyometer will be graded on the Ticci scale now. So we will be giving our picks next week, and then the week after we will be grading kind of how we felt we achieved our picks on the Ticci scale from Nightmare all the way up to Best I Love You. The actual scoring parameters for how we get there yet, we haven't yet decided how we convert numbers to the Ticci leak scale, but we'll work it out in the end. We'll work it out.
It's obviously a decimal system.
Obviously.
So the Ticci scale is like a unit of measure, and now other products in the Relay Empire can use this system. It's like the metric system, basically.
So I feel like we need a rebranding, maybe to just the Ticci scale.
The Ticci scale, it's shorter.
TTS.
It's the TTS, the Ticci scale with
the Ticci scale.
Should we drop the from the? Or
so it just becomes Ticci scale, TS.
I don't know. Should we Ticci scale or the Ticci scale?
We just call it tss.
That's.
We're gonna be ranking this on. Tss. There we go. We found it. We found it. That's it. It's just TS, Ticci scale.
Okay.
As it's known. So look forward to the Happyometer, which will be grading on starting next week. And of course, this is a surprise to nobody, but Apple has confirmed the WWDC keynote for June 4 at 10 a.m.
Really?
Pacific. Yeah, it was. I know it was a surprise to you. I booked the wrong flight. I'm arriving on the 5th.
Oh my god! And I just happened to be in town. Oh, that's convenient.
What a surprise! So it is happening as expected. Federico will be in the audience with his lovely badge. So I'm looking forward to next week's episode, and then obviously the episode after where we're going to be in front of a lovely audience of people. So I'm very excited about that. I bought a jacket, and I'm still on the show. Steven's buying a jacket, and he had to leave. It's a big thing. Steven's hosting this year, so his jacket needs to be really good. So I understand why he's taken a week off work to get that sorted.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still not wearing a jacket, so I'll be the guy with the shirt, no jacket. It's too formal, too adult for me. So.
I understand.
Yeah.
So last week on the show, we spoke about the 12 South. What is it called? Airfly. I just pulled that out of my brain. I feel very proud of myself. And then you went ahead and bought one of them.
Yes, I bought one, and it arrived yesterday, but I only had the time to play with it today. So it's basically the same size of the Belkin Rockstar, if you remember the dongle that Belkin introduced last year. No, I don't think so. I think maybe. It's a little rectangle that you plug into the iPhone, the Belkin Rockstar, and the AirFly is a little rectangle that you plug into devices with a headphone jack. So the box comes with this dongle and two cables. One is the headphone to headphone, so basically two male headphone jack plugs. And one USB to USB mini for charging the AirFly. And there's the logo of the AirFly is in the front, and it's actually a button that you can press.
Oh, okay.
So you press the button, and a little light starts spinning on the AirFly. Then what you do is, of course, there's no screen, so you cannot do the Bluetooth pairing with a user interface. And what you do is you take whatever wireless headphones you want to use, whether it's the AirPods or in my case I tried with the B&O E8 earbuds. They're kind of like AirPods but worse and black and cheap. I don't know why I still have them. Anyway, you just bring them close to the AirFly. You start the pairing process, and they just pair together automatically without having to confirm anything with the screen, because there is no screen in the middle. So they just connect to each other, and it took like a couple of seconds. So after that, I plugged the headphone jack into the AirFly, then into my Nintendo Switch. So there's like this dangling adapter coming out of my Nintendo Switch, and I put on the wireless earbuds, and I could hear system audio from my Nintendo Switch through the AirFly going to my earbuds. And that was it. So it took like 10 seconds in total. And I was really happy about that, because now I can use wireless headphones when I'm playing video games with my Nintendo.
Did you feel like the latency was good enough?
Oh, yeah, like definitely less than a second. I'm pretty sure there's actually, I don't want to say there's no latency.
Yeah.
There must be some latency, but it's not like it wasn't an issue. It wasn't something that I noticed. So
Okay.
I was playing Donkey Kong, and like the sound of jumping and the sound of smashing your hands on the ground, like I couldn't tell that there was latency in the middle. So I thought it was fine.
Okay, well that's good. I will. I want to try this out when we see each other soon, and then maybe I will think about something like this. I mean, I keep in my Nintendo Switch case, I just keep an old pair of the regular AirPods, right? The earbuds. What are they? Earpods, right?
Earpods.
Earpods. Were they called earpods? Yes,
They're
I think
pods
they were.
for your ears. Yeah.
I keep the pods for my ears. I keep just the old 3.5 millimeter ones before they move to Lightning. I just have a set of those just in there in case I need it. But I always have over-ear headphones with a regular 3.5 millimeter jack in my bag anyway when I'm traveling, because that's just what I will use when I travel. I only ever use over-ear headphones when I'm recording and when I'm traveling, like when I'm on an airplane. So I always have something, but you know, at least it will be good to know that if I want to move to an all Bluetooth lifestyle, I can do that, because currently Nintendo does not support Bluetooth audio from the Nintendo Switch. Whilst we're talking about this, while we're on this, I saw yesterday Belkin is selling a $30 Lightning to 3.5 millimeter headphone cable, which is so expensive, but I guess could be useful to some people. Like, I guess you could use it for headphones. So if you had a pair of headphones that you wanted to be able to plug directly into your iPhone, you could use this, right? Because you could plug the 3.5 into the headphone, and then if your headphone has a removable headphone cable, and then you could plug it into your iPhone. Or I guess you could use it for like car stereo systems and just regular stereo systems. So it's good that these cables do exist if you have a legitimate need for them, but $30 is really expensive for just a cable for audio.
Yeah, and I don't understand why this product was introduced now.
Apple have just allowed for this to occur, is my understanding from reading the story on The Verge, that this is a very recent change to the MFI standard that's allowing companies to make these.
All right, and then it makes sense. And now Belkin is owned by Foxconn, is that correct?
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot that. Or at least...
Yeah,
that's a thing that could happen, right? I don't know if it's past regulatory stuff
been approved
or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, I had totally forgotten about that. Oh man, yeah. I mean, not again. I don't really think it matters specifically, but it's interesting to note that. I just find that to be just a continually strange thing that's occurring. All right, should we take our first break? Then we've got a big story to talk about that you've written today.
Okay, yes.
All right, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Smile, and I want to tell you all about PDF Pen 10, the ultimate tool for editing PDFs and going paperless. If you use PDFs at all, you need to see what PDF Pen 10 can do for you. Their brand new release adds watermarks, custom headers, custom footers, and even a new precision edit tool too. So these are all things that you'll be able to add to your PDFs in PDF Pen 10. You can also do things like moving images around without increasing the size of your document. You can magnify library items. You have access to an improved color palette, and you can go paperless even more easily than ever before by making a whole collection of scanned PDFs searchable, which is a wonderful thing. Smile also offers PDF Pen for iPad and iPhone for editing PDFs while you're on the go. I use PDF Pen all the time. I was using PDF Pen 10 on my Mac just before we started recording today because I was filling out this document that had to be sent off to one of our wedding suppliers, and the easiest way for me to do it was just to open it up in PDF Pen 10. I can do it all and send it back. Nothing needs to be printed. I feel so sad when I work with companies and I send them something that I've put together in PDF Pen, right, that they need to sign, and then they send me back something that's been scanned. It's like, oh man, I feel for you. Like, that's such a terror. When I get a contract from you, all I do is open it in PDF Pen, sign it with my Apple Pencil or with my Wacom tablet, and send it back to you, right? But then when I know the amount of hassle you had to go through. You had to print it, grab a pen, write everything down, scan it, turn it into a PDF, attach it to an email, and send. It's so much more time to have to do that, to kind of go through all that rigmarole. But you don't need to be like that if you use PDF Pen. You can be cool just like me. If you've been thinking about getting your documents in order, this is your cue to get started. Learn more about PDF Pen right now at smilesoftware.com/podcast and tell them that you heard about them from this show. Our thanks to PDF Pen 10 for their support of Connected and Relay FM.
You can be cool just like me has to be your new tagline.
You be cool just like me? Yeah, okay. I can work with that. So, you published a really big article today called Second Life, and it's not about the failed MMO game,
no,
right?
It's not about that.
You've not been jumping in and flying around in whatever that place was called.
Well, that was really sad. It was a really sad video game.
So what's this? What is this article all about?
Well, I think a bunch of people were able to piece it together that I was up to something this year because I've been doing things that normally I wasn't doing before, and I think we discussed this like when we did the analog episode. Was that in December or maybe early January?
I think it was early January.
And I told you that my plan for this year was to work on myself. And then also a bunch of other projects for Mac Stories and stuff. But I told you that I wanted to concentrate on just me.
Yep.
And that was the result of a series of long conversations that I had with my girlfriend, with my friends, with a bunch of people close to me. Because last year, and I talked about this, I wrote about this, I hinted at this in a bunch of different places. Last year was a really stressful year for me. I wasn't able, in a way, it was maybe the culmination of a series of mistakes that I made in the past couple of years, and it resulted in levels of stress and anxiety, and just being unable to enjoy my job or just normal life like I used to before. And I reached the tipping point, I think, after I came back from Chicago. So I went to Chicago in October for the Release Notes conference. And in between that and December, so the holidays, I realized, it's absurd that I'm constantly stressed, and that I'm having all these thoughts about, like, am I good enough at my job? Do people even like what I do? And I was constantly like obsessed, with just being behind, not doing enough, or just not being good enough. All those negative thoughts, and what made me upset wasn't necessarily, being stressed. It was the fact that I was aware, like I was deeply aware of the fact that I was the cause of these problems, and my negligence in taking better care of myself from any point of view, from the physical point of view, from the mental point of view. Those problems were the result of ignoring signs that my brain and my body have been giving me for a couple of years, and I was ignoring them, and I was just completely focused on working. Just, I need to work, I need to do more, I need to launch this project, I need to I need to do this, I need to do that, and I just drowned myself in work, and in all that there was also the awareness of I'm the cause of these problems, and I don't know how to get out of this. But also there was the fact that I felt bad because I wasn't appreciating the life that I was given after beating cancer and going through treatments and having my first negative diagnosis, which means that I was cancer free. I felt bad because I was thinking, like, people die for this stuff and I didn't die, but yet what am I even doing here? So it was a bunch of thoughts, and of course, there was we should have put a disclaimer, I suppose, at the beginning of this segment. We're gonna talk about real stuff here.
Yeah, this is we put all the jacket jokes up front.
Yeah. So to go back to the story, how it began as a pause. I needed to take a pause from work, and I needed to think about, like, what it is that I actually want. And the holidays, the Christmas break was a nice opportunity for me to just say, I want to take a step back and I want to understand what I want. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized what I want is to have a better me in 2018. And so the people make fun of New Year's resolutions, but I made some, and I decided that I would do whatever possible, anything that I could do to improve my well-being from the psychological point of view and from the physical point of view. I decided to do a bunch to make a commitment to a bunch of changes in my life. And the story that I published today is the result of those 6 months of trying to follow, with discipline and with commitment, trying to follow that plan that I don't even want to say outlined, because it makes it sound like there was a document and I made a list of things. it was just a series of conversations. So yeah.
All right, so there's we can maybe get into some details of the things that you've done, but I have a bunch of questions for you. But I also don't want to rehash this article because I think people should read it because it's very good, it is very powerful, and I think that me and you talking right now will not do justice to the things that you've done. I mean, so like in broad strokes, the things that you've done is you are exercising every day. You are tracking things, including meditating every day and being thankful and expressing thanks. You're eating better, and you're trying to not let work take over your life, right? Is that like in broad strokes the big changes you've made?
Yes, that is a good description. Yes,
because I don't want to go into all of the details because I really think people should read the article. But I have a bunch of questions for you. Having been thinking about this too and just hearing you kind of talk then, that maybe we'll touch on a few of those things. But I think that, that's kind of the context is like Federico has made some conscious decisions and has been doing this stuff for 6 months about getting healthier in all aspects of his life. So you mentioned at the beginning when you were talking there about having conversations with your partner and with your friends. And I kind of wanted to know, were those conversations strained conversations? Like, were those conversations people saying to you, Federico, you need to get your life in order?
Yeah, especially from my girlfriend and especially from friends who are really close to me. They were totally honest in the sense that, sometimes you need another person to tell you what are you doing. Don't you realize that you don't realize your luck and you don't realize how fortunate you are, that you're still here essentially, and you can make a change, and yet you're not. And so they were, especially when they're coming from a couple of friends that they told me, you need to understand that if you're not gonna do this, you will maybe eventually you will even lost your job, in the sense that you will hate what you do unless you find a better balance. And so they were not pleasant conversations in that sense.
I mean, I think we've all been there to an aspect, at different parts of our lives. I want to understand from you though about work. Like, what is the change to work? Like, what in kind of in broad terms, what's happening? What's different?
In a way, nothing and everything is different. It's more about how I approach work, because I'm still doing the same things, right? I'm still writing about apps and sometimes personal stuff. I'm still doing podcasts. Yes, there's a few things that I'm delegating more. For example, if you take a look at Mac Stories this week, there's a bunch of app reviews that I didn't write. So, but that is not even necessarily a change, because I was doing that before. It's more in how I approach being a creator that works from home. So for example, in the evening, I try not to open email anymore, and I don't have notifications for email anymore. And I when I'm taking a walk with the dogs, or I'm going shopping with Sylvia, I don't check my phone anymore. It's more about trying to control my natural impulse to constantly be checking for things that relate to work. So over the years, I like many other people that do this kind of stuff, I just got used to always be checking my email, always be checking my tweets, my mentions, my RSS feeds. And being an independent creator it's a great fortune, because I'm able to do what I love, but it's also my problem, in the sense that any moment is a good moment to think about work. So it's more about in the change, I guess. It's in the restraint, in trying to force myself, because I'm naturally driven to always think about work and do something for work, to say, no, you're not supposed to be working now. And that's been really, really difficult.
Now, I'm assuming that a lot of the reasons that you did stuff like having notifications on and checking your phone was out of a fear of missing something, right? So in the 6 months nearly that you've been doing this, have you missed anything? Have you missed anything that has been critically important? Exactly. All right, and that's it, right? Like, and I think deep down we all know this, right? Like we feel like we have to be plugged in, and it turns out that maybe it's not so critical after all. This isn't about me, and I'm not going to make it about me because I don't want to talk about this today. But I've been making some changes in the way that my phone notifies me and my devices notify me, that I've not yet worked out yet, but it's in some similar vein of like having this feeling like I need to be constantly notified of everything that's going on, and then actually turning it off and just checking, does everything burn down if I do this, or does it actually turn out to just be okay? But I'm still working through a lot of that stuff myself anyway. Do you think that this new approach to life and work is going to change or affect how you work this summer?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because this is the unhealthiest time of the year for you.
Yeah. Well, I already promised myself that this year I am not going to be working on a new design for the review on the site.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because I thought about this, like, there's no point in changing the design every year.
No, I was really surprised when you did it last year, because it felt like the year before, it was like, well, this is how reviews are going to look. And then you were like, oh, look at all my new design stuff. And it was a surprise to me at the time, because I was surprised at how much work you'd taken on again.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking at over the past few months, I needed to reference my iOS 11 review multiple times. And every time I open the review and I use the table of contents and, the navigation between chapters, I thought, this is really convenient. I don't think I need to change this. There's a couple of features that I would love to offer, but I don't want to do that this year. I don't want to put that amount of work, that workload on me, on our designer, and our developer again. And I just want to focus on writing. But also, I'm sort of not artificially, I committed to a bunch of to a project and to a trip outside of Italy at the beginning of the summer, which are going to force me in a way not to work on the review for basically a month. And there's nothing I can do about it, because there's a project that we're working on for the site, and there's this vacation that I'm taking with Silvia, and it's happening, and there's nothing I can do. So it means that I will have July and August to work on the review. But also I want to go on other vacations, so it's going to be sort of like a return to the old and healthier days of, you're not going to be working on a review for 3 months, because it's going to produce this massive essay that, some people don't want to read. And also it's not healthy for you. And then it sounds likely that iOS 12 is not going to be, another iOS 11 type of release. So it seems like a perfect moment to scale back my ambitions. I'm still going to be doing a long form review, and it's still going to be maybe 40,000 something words. But I strongly believe that this approach of I work better under pressure anyway, and I think I'm in a better place. I think I have a different mindset to approach this stuff. I know that I'm gonna get it done, and I feel positive that I'm gonna produce something that is good. So I'm trying not to obsess over it. I'm trying not to agonize over the thought of, oh my God, there's a new version of iOS coming and I need to work on the review. It'll get done. I don't know how. I don't know how big it'll be, but it'll happen. So I'm sorry that I don't have any more specifics for you, but I think it'll it's gonna be okay.
I mean,
That's my
when
plan.
I'm hearing this, like, I'm thinking it will be more like your iOS 9 and iOS 10 review than your, well,
Yeah,
maybe your
for
iOS
sure.
8 and iOS 9 review than your iOS 10 and iOS 11
iOS
reviews.
9, yeah.
Which were like, they were big, but they weren't, let me tell you about every feature. Right? Because the last two, they have been more exhaustive, but it wasn't like they were short before.
No, and I want to focus more, if possible, on explaining what I think about features rather than presenting a list of all the features and all the possible details. And I learned a lot from the iOS 10 and iOS 11 reviews. I know that if I want to, I can describe APIs in detail, and I can describe what what developers can do to people in normal English. I know that I can do that, but also I don't want to be, if you want to read about APIs, you should go read the developer documentation. I should strike, I think, a better balance between producing a review for the people.
I would personally like to see you return closer to the Federico Ticci scale on this. Not the TIS, just a scale of review. I would like to see you go closer back towards Federico than you have been towards Syracusa. And Syracusa's reviews, they're incredible, but they are like reference a lot of it, right? And I feel like that you have done an incredible job of creating effectively reference guides, right? As well as the review, right? So there's a lot of thought in there, but there's also a lot of like, here is how this thing works. And I just don't know if you need to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I like I said, I learned a lot from that process, and to an extent, it's not even something that I enjoy. Especially following, throughout multiple betas during the summer, like, oh, this API changed, then I also need to change my review. It's not something that I enjoy. I like explaining the effect of technology on how we use computers and how we use apps. I don't enjoy explaining code to people. I can do it, and I think I'm pretty good at it if I want to, but it's not something I love. And so I agree with you. I should strike a better balance between having long form, but also staying true to what I like to write about.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm pleased. I mean, I will enjoy whatever you write, but like, I am happy to skip less, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would skip more of these reviews because it's like, okay, so we're getting into the business chat API, right? It's
Right.
like, well, I actually don't care about
how
that.
drag and drop works behind the scenes.
I mean, I couldn't skip any of it last time.
Yeah.
Which would have been awkward for us if I would have just skipped huge chunks of your review. But
I'm not gonna be reading this.
And this is the same as how I would read John Syracusa's reviews as well, where it's like I would read the stuff I was interested in plus all of the analysis, but digging deep into how X, Y, and Z works. If it's not a feature that really affects me, I would just skip it. Like, that's not what I'm coming to these things for. I'm coming to them for like entertainment and information, not just straight up information.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued to see what that balance ends up looking like for you this year. But just returning to kind of what's actually in the story that you've written. It seems like the Apple Watch has been incredibly useful to you throughout especially the exercise part. But do you think you could have done this without the Apple Watch?
Yes, for sure. I could have. Just like I think there's a good analogy here. I could work with a Mac, instead of an iPad, instead of my iPhone. I could work out without my Apple Watch. I could use a Fitbit, or I could use, I don't know, whatever it is that people, Garmin or something. I could use something else, but I wouldn't enjoy the process. but also there's there's a point in the story where when I say, the Apple Watch is just a tool. It's, if you don't want to exercise, or if you're finding excuses not to exercise, or if you think it's something that it's not for you, the Apple Watch is not gonna fix that. It's not like you put on the Apple Watch and suddenly you want to work out. There's an initial motivation. There's the novelty effect of oh yeah, I want to close my rings now and I want to get my badges. But ultimately, it comes down to wanting to exercise and wanting to improve. It's like a bug that you need to catch. It's like it's a thing that it needs to stay in your brain at all times. I was never the fitness type person, and honestly, I'm surprised that I've ended up in this place of like, if I don't work out every morning, it's not that I get upset, but I can feel that I'm more irritated, that I missed something. It's like, I don't know. I can feel that I didn't do something that is important to me, and I was never like this, right? I was never this type of kid when I was younger. I was never this type of person, but I reached the point where I realized, I need to do this because it's important, and I don't want to. At the same time, I didn't want to do stuff like following like an aggressive diet. I didn't want to be frustrated, and funnily enough, what clicked for me was one of the challenges from the activity app that you get with the Apple Watch. The special badges. In February, there was the Heart Month challenge from February 8th to February 14th, St. Valentine's Day. And I followed the requirements to unlock the challenge, and I got the badge, and then I don't know, I never stopped. And yes, I could do this without the Apple Watch, and sometimes I work out without my Apple Watch, and it's fine. But what I like about wearing the watch is that there's this little fun aspect of, I can share my activity with Kyle's the Grey. I can, and he's a monster.
Yeah, he's a terrible person to share activity with. I would just straight up refuse it.
It's actually been like a fantastic motivation for me, and like when you do workouts and when you unlock achievements, if you share the activity with someone else, they can see that you did that, and they can send you a response. And Kyle, he constantly sends me like thumbs up or messages, of encouragement. It's been really nice, and it's, honestly, being able to share the activity with somebody like him, a super athletic guy, and he does a lot of different types of exercise. It's been a great motivation for me, and it's, so I'm thankful for that feature because it really works. And ultimately, I think that I could do this without a watch, but there's a little part of my brain that wants this aspect of you're doing this for you, and you're gonna keep doing this no matter what. If you lose your watch, or if your watch breaks, you're still gonna be working out in the morning. But if you can, this is enjoyable, right? Being able to track and closing the rings and unlocking the badges, it's a little fun thing on the side that sweetens the deal in a way.
This is what gamification is about. I mean, it's become a dirty word over time, but like the Apple Watch is gamifying health for you because it gives you badges and awards, and it shares stuff with your friends. This is the basics of gamification. Like, and when done well, it does work. That's why it exists, right? And you have gamified your health, and that's excellent because that is clearly clicked for you because you are now healthier than you've been in years.
Yeah, but I wanna stress though how you need to have motivation to do this. And I think if you don't want to improve, really, if deep down you just want to try the fancy features of the Apple Watch. It's not a strategy that will work out over time. The Apple Watch is just a tool on the side, even though I consider the Apple Watch an essential device for me at this point, because I love what it helps me do every day. It's working out and exercising and losing weight, and all this fitness and health stuff is something that I want. And I think you shouldn't use the Apple Watch as your primary reason to do this. It's something that you need to want yourself. Then you can use the Apple Watch. It's a balance that I think it's important to keep in mind.
I have one last question for you before we move on. So you've gone through this journey and you're kind of well into it now. Like, it's not really a thing that you're still kind of working out. Like, you know what all this means for you. And I kind of glossed over it, but there is also other parts of the psychological side where, like, you're meditating and trying to ground yourself more frequently. What is more important to you, the physical side or the mental side? Like, what do you take the most time on? What do you make the most concerted effort with?
I think both of them. They are two sides of the same. It's like the two hemispheres of the brain. You cannot. Well, some people can detach them.
You can detach them.
Remember the CGP Grey video.
But, like, okay, so let me pose a hypothetical to you, right? Like, if something's happened in a day and you only have a very small window of time left in your day in which you can complete something, and it's either a workout or you can meditate. In a real strained situation, which one do you think that you would gravitate towards?
That's a really tough question.
I know.
It depends. So it's if something happens because somebody upsets me. But it's something trivial, like, I don't know, I get in a fight with somebody while I'm stuck in traffic, something stupid and silly. I'm gonna be working out because it calms me down, and it's relieves stress. But if it's something deeper, like I don't know, I get in a fight with a close friend or my girlfriend, or if it's something about work, I'm probably gonna be meditating a bunch or taking a walk or talking to someone. I think actually honestly, while the exercise stuff is more fun, and it is more fun to do, is more fun to write about, because I get to talk about the Apple Watch and sensors and apps. The mental aspect, I think, was more important for me. Just realizing all this was way more important for me. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I feel like a new person, just in the sense of how I have this thought. It's like I keep thinking about it every day, that my and this is gonna sound so grandiose and aspirational, but it's what I feel. And I have a mission to bring good stuff into the world, whatever it is, whether it's having a good time with friends, or producing stories that people enjoy, or shows that people like to listen to. My mission is to bring good stuff into this planet, because I was given a second chance, and this is my way to give back. And it's of course, it's a thought. It's something that it's in my mind that I need to nurture and to take care of. I need to protect this thought, in any way possible. And so exercising and, the physical aspect is essential, of course. But I think that in my case, mental health and my psychological well-being was way more important for fix whatever I was going through this past couple of years. Does this answer your question?
It does answer my question. And I think maybe for you, it's the way it seems is you could only ever get on the road to physical health once you started to take better care of your mental health. Like that,
I think so.
Those things go together for a lot of people, and it changes for different people. But it seems like for you, the mental side had to come first before you could follow up with the physical side.
And
Ticci, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration to me, and I love you very much. And I think that you've done an incredible thing, and sharing it with the world is even more so. So I'm very proud of you.
I love you too. Thank you.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll talk about some apps or some crap, right? Let's just talk about apps again. Today's episode is brought to you by ButcherBox, the folk who deliver thoughtfully sourced meat directly to your door. You can enjoy healthy, grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, or even heritage breed pork. Plus, ButcherBox meats come from humanely raised animals that are never fed antibiotics, hormones, or fatty fillers. Here's how it works. Each ButcherBox comes with at least 8 to 11 pounds of meat, which is enough for 24 individual meals. You can choose from 5 different box types, including a custom box, where you can choose exactly how much you need and what you and your family will love. The meat is frozen at the peak of freshness in individual vacuum-packed biodegradable packaging. Then it's shipped for free with dry ice to make sure it stays frozen even after it reaches your doorstep. You can think of ButcherBox as like your neighborhood butcher, with their quality beef, chicken, and pork delivered right to your door and the option to choose how often you get deliveries as well. Plus, you can find recipes on the ButcherBox website so you'll know just how to cook the wonderful food you're receiving, or follow along with the videos on the ButcherBox YouTube channel. Now, our jacketed friend, Mr. Stephen Hackett, he received a box of meat from ButcherBox, so I requested Stephen from the past to provide his thoughts on receiving the ButcherBox box of meat.
So my family and I got a ButcherBox. It had a whole bunch of stuff in it. We had steaks and ground beef and chicken and pork chops. I made a steak that night because sometimes a podcaster wants to feel fancy. The steak was great. The next night we did some of that ground beef and spaghetti with the kids. My wife did the pork chops. Everything in that box was good. It was very tasty. It came all frozen, so I knew it was safe. It was easy to thaw out and get going. And it was great. It just showed up at the door, right? Didn't have to go to the grocery store where, the butcher shop may have some stuff on one day and some stuff on the other day. It all came together and was really easy to deal with, easy to unpack, and tasty to cook.
Thank you, Stephen from the past. Let me tell you what you can get here, right? This is an incredible deal. I'm very excited about this deal from ButcherBox. You can get some free bacon along with $20 off your first box by going to butcherbox.com/connected and entering the code connected at checkout. That is butcherbox.com/connected and the code connected for free bacon and $20 off your first box. Our thanks to ButcherBox for their support of this show. It's one of my favorite offers of all time, just free bacon. It's like, yeah, I'll have to take some free bacon.
I'll have some free bacon.
All right, Federico, I want to talk to you about Spark 2. Spark is an email application that's been around for many years at this point and has been updated relatively consistently since, but has been, as we've spoken about before, it's been missing some features on the iOS that the Mac has had, etc., etc. And it's made by Riedel. They're like a well-known developer. They've got a bunch of applications like documents and was it PDF Expert they make too, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they've just updated Spark to Spark 2, and really Spark 2 is email for Teams, and we'll get to that in a minute. But there are some features for individual users. What if you are just a one-person individual, you receive your personal email through Spark, what changes can you expect to see in Spark 2?
So there's basically 2 main changes. One of them is that finally the same integrations with third-party apps and services that you get on the Mac, now you can use them on iOS as well. So you can save your emails to Things or OmniFocus or Todoist. It works the same way as it does on the Mac. So you can take a message and share to your task manager, for example, and you can set some parameters beforehand. So like you can set the title of the task and the date for a reminder, and the task will have a link back to the original message in Spark, so that you can even archive the message, then tap the link from your task manager, and you will get to the original message anyway, even if it's been moved or archived or whatever.
It's nice.
So that's convenient. And then you can also generate public links to email messages. So this is not the first. Spark is not the first app to have this feature. Polymail, which is another businessy type of email app and service for Teams, has the same functionality. What you can do is essentially you can generate a public web page that represents the email message. And it's a way to publish an email message on the web and share the link with somebody else. So like if I get an interesting email about a new app and Myke is not part of my Mac Stories team in Spark, I can generate, and I don't want to forward the message to Myke, I can just generate a link to the message and send the link to Myke, and Myke will open the message in Safari or Chrome, and he will be able to look at a web copy of the email message. And I know that I'm not sure how you feel about this, Myke.
I have a quick question for you before I tell you how I feel about it. The links that are generated for integrations, right? So you can, like the link that takes you from Todoist back to Spark, are they public links?
No, those are traditional URL schemes.
Okay, so it's all local,
Spark, colon,
right?
/ Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Those are local links. Yeah.
So here's my thing. The public links thing, I can see how they could be useful, right? And my understanding is that they can be easily deleted, and there are some flexible sharing options too, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. If you pay for the premium stuff, I mean, you can always delete them. So that's, of course, a feature that you get for free. The additional controls are that you can choose whether just you or just your team can open a link to that message.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's a public link. So you generate the link, and then if you want to remove it from the web, you can delete the link.
So I understand that using apps like Spark and I believe apps like Airmail, I think basically any app that gives push notifications, I know that there is an element of email being stored or passed through the servers of that company, right? Am I right in thinking that? Like if a company wants to provide push notifications, it has to go through them somehow.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be some way to tell when you get a new message. Yeah.
So, I mean, I also know, because I'm not a dummy, I know that some of my email is being stored for a period of time. I don't know the details because whatever. I know that there's stuff being stored with Reader, right? Like, and you make that choice yourself. And I think that you can go in and read the privacy policy, or you can just, as I always say, right, like you make your trade-offs, however you make your trade-offs. But on the surface, I don't like this public link thing because it makes it too real for me. I know this sounds ridiculous, and I know people are going to hate this, but all I can do is talk honestly. There's just something about being able to create an email on a website owned by another company that's like, it makes it feel more real than I want to about where my email is actually going. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, totally. It's a maybe a step too far.
Yeah, it's like, I know this is happening, but don't show it to me. Right? Like,
I don't want to know.
Let me forget about the fact that this is happening. And again, I don't believe necessarily that they're doing anything nefarious, and I don't want to put that out there because if I thought that, I wouldn't use their application. But there's still just an element of like, in this world that we live in right now, I just don't want to know what you're doing if you're being okay with it. I know I'm talking very peculiarly here, but there's just this disconnect that I prefer to have sometimes just because it helps me sleep at night, right? And just...
It's like, I think a good metaphor could be a meal that you enjoy, but maybe is prepared in some way that you don't want to know.
It's the idea of you never want to visit the factory for where your food is made.
Exactly.
This is what that is. Thank you for doing that for me. That is the perfect way of describing it. Like, sometimes it's just best not to see. And this just feels like one of those things. I think one of the biggest disappointments for me with Spark is that there are no visual changes to the app. And I say this because I don't like the way that Spark looks. Email is a professional thing for me. It's where my work is done mostly. And Spark doesn't feel professional. Like, it feels too fun, and it doesn't really have any strong customization options to allow me to tweak it in any way. Where like apps like Mail and Airmail and Outlook and Edison, they all look way more like professional. Where Spark is on a different end, and I personally don't think it adds anything by trying to be more like fun in its design. Like, it has a bunch of things that I really like. There are a lot of buttons and like the user experience is very good in some places, but I'm not a big fan of their user interface, especially the kind of inbox view. I don't like this colored bar on the side, especially on the iPad, and these like floating window. Like, I just don't like it. It's too heavy-handed for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. It doesn't have a professional look in the traditional sense. It's very colorful, very custom. Also, at the same time, like it doesn't follow some iOS UI conventions. Like, it's got its own share sheet and it's a custom one, and it can look strange in places. So I think I understand what you're saying.
But let's talk about what's actually big and new in this app, which is the team stuff. So this is broken down into like 3 different things, right? Message sharing, chatting and communicating with teams, and real-time collaboration. So from what I understand, the message sharing, you're able to, once you set up a team, which can be done in a couple of different ways, you can then take a message. And so if we're on the same team, I could look at a message in my inbox, press a couple of buttons, and share it with you, right?
Right. Yes.
Now, what does that actually mean, though? Like, then what happens? We both see it in our inboxes? Like, what happens next?
So, what happens is this is a proprietary feature that is not a traditional email forward. And what you do is you take a message that was addressed to you and, was not addressed to the other person, and you share the message with the other person, which means it lands in the other person's Spark inbox. It does not show up in the actual email service inbox. It's tied to the Spark application. So if you share a message with me, I will not see the message in Apple Mail or Gmail or Fastmail, whatever. I will only see the message in Spark. And it's a custom feature built on top of email that, again, it's something that other services have done before, I believe. There's a bunch of similar services called Missive and Front and Polymail. But I think Spark, it's more... is more popular in our community, in the iOS.
It has a higher profile.
It has a higher profile in the Apple community. Of course, it's a well-known company, so we're talking about it now. But yeah, it's a custom thing.
So like, this is another thing where it's like, okay, you're making it very clear to me at this point where my email's going, right? If this only shows up in Spark, obviously you're getting my email in some way. But this is where that trade-off thing comes into play. Where it's like, I'm thinking about this and I'm like, that would be super useful for me. So I share email, especially with my advertising sales manager, right, that we have here at Relay FM. So it's a slight step up from assistant. She helps me with advertising sales. That's a big thing that we do now. And we get a lot of people that email us, and I want to share leads that come in with her because I don't need to pick them all up anymore. And the way we're currently doing it is I forward it, and then she has to delete a bunch of stuff and reply.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be lovely? And yes, it would, if I could just take that email and just send it to her, and then she just replies to it and it looks normal. And that seems like a really good thing, but it locks us both into Spark everywhere. And that's where it starts to get a bit tricky, where it's like, do I want to be locked in? I don't know. because I've never really liked Spark that much anyway. So like, but now will I get enough value out of it that it makes sense for me? So like, I think we're going to try it. I think that's something, I think I want to give it a go and see if it's like, well, am I willing to overlook some of the things I don't like about the application in exchange for what would be some just really genuine usefulness? And then the other part of it is we can have a conversation along the side of the email, which is not part of the email, right? You can kind of chat to the people that you share the messages with.
Yeah, you can also do that. It's basically like a mini iMessage built right into the thread view. So like you can chat with your teammates without, of course, the person on the other side of the conversation knowing that you're chatting. And it's, initially I thought it's like, this is insane. I don't want to have like a mini Slack into my email. But then I kind of understood why it's there. It's like if something comes in and it's addressed to a bunch of people, I don't have to go on Slack and say, hey, by the way, did you see the message that we got from Steven today? Do you want to respond to that person? Right into the email, I can say, at Ryan, can you respond to them? And it's contextual to the place where we're doing email.
It requires less context, because I'm doing this all the time as well, where I'm like, did you see that message I just sent you? Oh, which one of those three that you just sent me are you referring to? And it's like, that's where a lot of this frustration comes in, and it's why this actually does seem like a useful thing. So are you notified about these in any way, though?
Yes, but this is one of my one of the downsides that I mentioned in my story yesterday. There are no granular notifications. So as I told you, I keep email notifications disabled. But in doing that, I also miss notifications for messages, which is insane, because I should be able to tell, look, don't give me email notifications, but tell me when my teammates message me, because emails and messages, the chat feature, those are two separate things. I know that they come from the same application, but they are two different messaging protocols. So I would love to be able to say no email message notifications, but yes, messages from my teammates. And right now that feature is unfortunately missing from Spark 2.
Yeah, I hope they add that. That seems like an obvious one to add to me, because I would maybe want to set up the same. Right? Like there are a lot of benefits to being able to separate those things, because they are technically different, because you want to know when your team's talking to you. You don't necessarily want to know every time an email comes in.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And then there's also the real-time collaborative stuff. How well does this work?
Oh, yeah.
How well does it actually work?
It works well. It's slightly slower than Google Docs. But it's surprisingly solid. Honestly, I tried it with John. We composed an email message together and it worked fine. My problem, not a problem, but just my skepticism maybe, is that if I ever reach the point where I need 3 people to help me write in an email message, something has gone terribly wrong with me. It means that I've lost my mind and I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
I hadn't thought of that until now. When does that ever happen? That like multiple people need to be in the compose view?
You tell me, Mike, you used to work at a bank with a bunch of business type people. Never. Is that a thing that people do? Let me collaborate on an email with you.
No, that's, I mean, at most like one person, but like, I don't know if you need to be doing that in the compose view of your email. I feel like we not all 4 of us need to be typing at the same time. So, all right, this email needs 4 paragraphs. We'll all work on one of them individually. I just realized that honestly feels like a waste of resources. Like it's just a whiz bang feature. Like it looks good in a demo, but who actually needs that? Like I tell you, listeners. If you know of a use case for like 3 or more people to be working on an email at the same time, please let us know what that is.
Just if we do this, you, Mike, are in charge of my email signatures from now on. Okay. So when I compose a message, I want you to take care of my signature.
All right, I'm fine with that. Every time, president of special business, the creator, all these things. You could, so many things. I think one of the biggest changes here for Spark, and one of the things that actually makes me happy about all of this, is that they finally have a legitimate business model. Where previously Spark was just, it's free, and then maybe one day we'll charge you for something, and then that day never came. But now they have a business model where there is a lot of stuff that you get for free. So it's free for individuals, and there's a core team functionality. What is that?
It means that you can basically use the service for free as long as you have a small team. So you get, for free, you get 5 gigabytes of chat storage, because you can also attach images and documents for the whole team. Whereas if you pay for the premium stuff, you get 10 gigabytes per user. So it's, there's a big difference. But then again, are you going to be using this as a Slack alternative? You're going to be sharing a lot of heavy files here? I don't know. It depends on how much you want to chat in your email. And also, if you, with the core team, you can only collaborate, only 3 people can collaborate on an email message. So, compose your messages wisely, because it's only 3 people. And
take care now.
And what else? Yeah. Oh, and these are actually important. You get no controls over the link sharing. So it's either public or deleted. You cannot say just me or just my team.
I feel if you're doing the link sharing with any seriousness, you should pay, because I think even though there is like a security through obscurity thing, I just think that it's best to have some control over that. Yeah,
I agree. And also, you cannot, you don't have the feature called team roles. So you can, in Spark 2, you can either be the owner of the team, an admin, or a member. And of course, if you have a large organization, you want to be able to set these levels, because the owner controls everything and has access to the billing dashboard. But the admin can also invite and delete members. If you have a large team, you probably want to pay for this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is the single most compelling reason for a team to use Spark 2?
Honestly, the sharing stuff. Just the maybe sharing and chat, but with an asterisk. I think sharing is what I've always wanted from a collaborative email perspective. Like, I just want to be able to take an email and place it in someone else's inbox without doing the forward, and with an easy system.
When you do that, can you archive it from your own inbox?
Yes, but it will remain in the shared section of the app.
Okay.
Where for some reason messages are unarchivable from there. So the shared view is a special view, and you see every single message that you ever shared. You cannot delete them from that view. But yes, you can archive them.
Seems useful though, because
I guess.
Because it's then you can go and just check on stuff that you've done in the past. And
yes, exactly.
Then all of your conversations are accessible and stuff like that. I think that makes sense to me that you would keep that there, because then the shared, no one's actually working from shared. Everyone's working from their own inboxes, and then shared just becomes like a history log. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I think I'm going to try it out. I think it sounds like honestly exactly what I've been looking for a while, in having something to communicate with people. Like, Slack is amazing, but I still get email too, and I have to deal with that. And when you're working with people where you're sharing jobs with them, like you're sharing part of a role with them, which is what I'm doing, then I think that really you've got to have some way to communicate about the messages that you're receiving, and being able to do it in the context of the literal message. That seems pretty appealing for me. I think I might try it out. And you've sold me, Federico.
Well, are you gonna pay for it?
If I use it, I'm gonna pay for it. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't need to. I can actually use all of that stuff, right? But if I'm gonna use a tool like this for my business, I'm gonna pay for it. So I'm gonna try it with what's free, right? So I can just check it out and see if it works for us. And if we decide that it works for us, then I'm gonna convert our account to a pay plan.
Yeah, we are testing the three people right now. It's John, Ryan, and I are having like a trial team experiment with Spark 2, but I think it's also what I needed. If only for the sharing and some lightweight chatting going on inside messages, just being able to double check and confirm stuff. Because I love Slack, I pay for Slack, but the truth is that somebody who is not part of my team, like email is still the best way to reach out to someone who's not necessarily your friend or colleague. And yes, there are integrations that you can build or you can, activate to have your email end up in Slack. But really, Slack cannot be your email client. So you're always going to be getting some type of email, and you're always going to be needing to manage email and respond to email. And Slack isn't built for that. So if I need to use email because people email me, then I might as well use something that removes and just that friction that I find in collaborating with my team over email. So at that point, why not give this a try? And that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
There was another app that updated this week that I really wanted to talk to you about, Federico, and that's Castro 3. Castro is a podcast application. It's been around for many years now, and it's on their third iteration, and with that has brought about some changes to the app and a change to their business model. And I wanted to kind of dig into some of the changes that are the most interesting to both of us. One of the things that Castro, everybody was asking for when Castro 2 was introduced was Overcast-like features, like in being able with what Marco in Overcast calls voice boost and smart speed, right? So the ability to take voices and put some equalizing on them to make them louder or to make them more consistent, and then also to reduce the silence in speech. So you're not listening to a show at 1.5x constantly, but when there's silences, it kind of speeds it up and reduces some of those silences so you can listen to more shows, right? It's kind of a way to do it. And I've been using those effects in Overcast since they came out. And now I think any podcast app in our community that gets introduced, that's what everybody wants, those two features. So Castro has implemented those now, and I would say that on the whole, they've done a pretty good job. From a UI perspective, something I really like is that you can see how much time you've saved per episode of a show. They don't have a way like in Overcast right now to see how much time you've saved in aggregate, and I hope they can add that. But I really like this just so you can see, I saved like 35 seconds or something. Like I think there's something kind of fun about that, to see that ticking up as the show's going through.
Yeah.
And I would say that to my ears, and I have no idea about this, it feels a little bit more aggressive than Overcast, but it does the job. But to be honest, I don't know if it's more aggressive, honestly. It just sounds a little different, and that's how I am interpreting different to be. And it's just because I'm used to the way Overcast does it. Like, I have not done any serious analysis to see who is better and how much better each app is than one another. It just sounds different, and I'm used to Overcast, so I think it sounds a little better, but I can't tell you that for sure, and I think this is something that's going to be different for different people, but it 100% does the job, like 100%. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, actually I do. I think it got a lot better, the trim silence feature, during the betas, so it was kind of rough in the first beta of Castro 3. But then I think it's actually really good now, and it's too bad that you don't have like a single total for the amount of minutes or hours that you save with trim silence. Overcast has this feature in the settings, so it's only on a per episode basis. But I agree, it's if there's a difference with Overcast, I think of all the apps that implemented the feature, this is the closest it's ever been to matching the quality of Overcast.
They also added chapter support, which I like. I think they implemented it pretty well. They did it. I like the design of the way everything looks. I would say that initially it's tricky to work out where the chapters are, and you have to like tap on the chapter's title name to bring up the list. But once you've learned that, I like the way it all looks. I like the way it's presented in the full screen view, and then you can just check what you want. This is a chapter support and the silence stuff, and there's like things like there's a dark mode and per podcast settings. These are all part of Castro Plus, which is the paid subscription model, which I'll get to in a minute. But that, if you try the app and you're not seeing these features, that's why. And I think they have a trial as well, so you can try them all out. I like the implementation of it. I really like that they go with custom artwork, because I like to do that sometimes. So you can have custom artwork pop up if you can change the chapter art and stuff like that. And this kind of lends into the general design of Castro. It is so beautiful. Like, it is my favorite design of any iOS podcast app. I love the way this looks. The animations, just the general look and feel of the app is so nice. I wished that their dark mode took advantage of the OLED screen more, because that's one of my favorite features of Overcast. I love just the app, like the true black in the dark mode, and they have it in places like the player bar, but honestly I would like to see that a little like reversed. Like, I would like the majority of the UI to be in all black, but that's just a preference of my own. But just the general design is so good. The way they use haptics is so good. Their drag and drop is wonderful. Like, Supertop, the company behind this, they've always done a great job of design, and they were like really ahead of the curve in a lot of ways with the original Castro. And they have been here too. I mean, like, when drag and drop came out, their initial implementation of it was excellent. And now, like, there isn't really anything here where I think they have the ability to be like groundbreakingly different to anyone else, right? Like, I don't think that there's anything like right now which would allow them to do that. But I'm confident that, like, if something is announced at WWDC from a design perspective, like some new UI interaction or whatever, they will find an interesting and novel way to implement it, because that's what they do an incredible job at.
Yeah, I love the way that it looks. I love the way that it works, the way that it feels with the haptics. It's such a beautiful app. And with the new stuff, honestly, I'm using the Apple Podcasts app now because of the HomePod and Siri. But if there's ever, an audio domain for Siri, so you can ask the HomePod to use Castro and, ask on the iPhone to use Castro instead of podcasts, I would seriously consider using this as my full-time app, because it looks so beautiful and the triage system totally works for my brain. And the drag and drop on the iPhone is glorious. So yeah, it's a beautiful piece of software. And the business model makes sense to me, because a podcast client is something that you use on a regular basis. And these are good people, and you should support them, and you should download and try Castro, because it's an excellent update.
Yeah, that triage system was introduced in Castro too, and it's the idea that you have your inbox, which is all of your shows, and then kind of like everything that's unheard, and then you add them to your queue. So this is the stuff you're actually going to listen to. I love this so much, like, that I implemented this system in Overcast. So I have two playlists. One is all, and one is my queue, and that's how I do it. I triage what comes in and then add them to my queue, and I run it I run Overcast that way. And I would say that for me right now, probably the main reason that I am not using Castro is they have no iPad app. Like, that, I use Overcast on my iPad a lot, and I do hope that their new business model will give them the resources required to allow them to work on an iPad app. Like, I would like that a lot. Their business model, it's a paid subscription. You can pay $2.99 per quarter or $8.99 per year. I think that is perfectly reasonable in both cases. So, like, I would have to play around with this a lot more before I would decide to make the change, because I will tell you, like, Overcast is in my top 3 favorite iOS apps of all time. So, like, I wouldn't want to be completely just taken away by the whiz bang of Castro that I would move. Like, it would still take me a lot of time to make that decision. But basically, like, I can't and won't make that decision personally until there's an iPad app. But I know I'm in a real minority with that. And this is because I listen to podcasts a lot at home, because I am a home worker. So I usually have my iPad with me, and my iPad has better speakers than my iPhone, so I listen on my iPad. So that makes me in the minority. I think that they have allocated their resources so far correctly in like ensuring their iPhone app is perfect. But I would want to have it on all my devices before I personally consider it. But if you are someone who only uses an iPhone for your like one device or whatever, then I would recommend looking at Castro and trying out the free trial, because they have done an excellent job here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how apps like Overcast and Pocket Casts respond to this, because I think Castro are making some waves, rightly. I think they've made maybe a bigger impact with Castro 3 than they did with Castro 2. I hope. It seems like I'm seeing a lot more about it now anyway, especially because they've added a bunch of features that people wanted. So I genuinely hope that this is a good thing for them, because Padraig and Oshin, the two guys behind Supertop, are really great guys, and I hope that this enables them to continue developing this app and other projects in the future, because they more than deserve it.
Yeah.
All right, if you want to catch our show notes for this week, head on over to relay.fm/connected/194. I want to thank ButcherBox and PDF Pen 10 from Smile for their support of this show. You should 100% make sure you have read Federico's incredible article called Second Life. There is a link in the show notes there, but you can find it at macstories.net, which is where Federico's work goes. And Federico has an amazing team of people around him that are producing incredible content. Like I've linked today to two reviews, a review of Spark and a review of Castro, both written by people at Mac Stories, who are John and Ryan. I will say that I think that some of the images in the Castro review are incredibly beautiful. Really just excellent image work. No particular reason why I would say this, but I just think that in general, Ryan did a great job of his screenshots.
Yes, great taste.
Really great taste for the screenshots. I am at iMyke on Twitter, IMYKE. We will all be back together next week for our very important episode. Hopefully Stephen will have decided on what jacket he wants by then. So he'll be back too. But thanks so much for listening. Until next time, say goodbye, Federico.
Arrivederci.
Tally-ho, cheerio, toodle pip or something. I don't know. What do I say?
Adios.
Cheerio.